I'll do is I'll do like a countdown, like three, two, one. But this time I didn't. We're already recording.
Yeah, he does that sometimes. Hello, and welcome to Wine, Whiskey, and Words. I'm Daniel,
I'm Brad.
and this is our special guest.
Mia.
Mia is my daughter. If you've listened before, welcome back. We're glad to have repeat listeners because otherwise, does anybody listen to us? Do we have listeners?
My mother listens.
Thanks, Mom. If you're new to our show, each episode we try something to drink. This time, Mia is a little underage, so she will not be trying the drink, but she will be
next year, right?
next year. Next year, she will be smelling the drink, but she's going to give us some feedback on the nose of the drink. We talk about something interesting since our last episode. It can be anything. Sometimes it's an interesting photo, something that happened in our life, something we've started doing. Just varies. And then we talk about a topic we chose during the previous episode. We do our best to prep and research. Sometimes it doesn't happen as effectively as we plan, but we do our best and we try to just have a lot of fun and share our lives with our listeners. With that said, let's begin. Brad, what did you bring to drink this week?
Well, I brought another little special that I got from Wine Spies that I mentioned in the previous episode. So this is a bottle. So Wine Spies, once in a while, what they'll do is they'll go, "We've got this bottle up. We're not going to tell you what it is. We'll give you a clue, and that's it."
Okay.
And this is one of them. And so this one, I think it cost me like $55. And before I came over, I looked to see what the price was, what I could get it for. Like about $129, $130. Wow. So if you can find it. But so the producer is Anthem. It's out of Napa.
Okay.
This is it's their 2019 Cabernet Sauvignon Estate Mt Veeder. Now I will say this: so not everyone knows that when you label something as a Cab, a Merlot, or whatnot, it does not have to be 100%. You don't have to list everything that's in there. It has to be at least, if memory serves me correctly, about 85%.
Okay.
This one in particular is, and they listed on the back, it's 86% Cabernet Sauvignon, 9.1% Merlot, 4.7% Cabernet Franc, and 0.2% Petit Verdot.
Okay.
Now, I will say this is hands down the most interesting looking bottle that I've ever seen. It basically goes over where the grapes were grown, the soil composition, the types of barrels, where they got them from, what type of fermentation, the vines, everything on the back of this bottle.
I like a good, well-designed label.
It is really, really wild.
I find it disappointing when places just give you the label that's like got a quote from somebody and nothing more. And that's good.
But for me, as long as I can find the information, I'm fine. But this makes it just so accessible. This one was 880 cases produced.
Oh wow!
Which is not a lot.
So is that like a topographical map on the
the
front of the
bottle?
It
is.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm gonna pour some of this.
What year is it from?
2019. And good question actually, because it actually said on the back there too that when the grapes were planted, which the grapes were planted in 2017.
Oh wow! I would have thought that grapes had to mature a lot longer than that.
Well, not necessarily.
Like the vines, I would think would have to.
Now, I will say, I popped this at home. Whoop. I think I got a little bit more of a pour.
Wow, Brad, you got the full experience
now,
for us.
I will say that I popped this at home. I poured a little bit out to try prior while I decanted this one for at least an hour and a half.
Oh wow! Okay.
Prior. So you can look at that if you'd like.
Do you want to smell this one? Tell us what you smell when you smell that.
I'd say it definitely has. It's tart, or what is the word for tart? The word for tart. It smells tart.
Okay.
And definitely a red wine.
Okay, it
Okay.
smells like a tart red wine. All right.
All right. Well, I will say this that the notes from Anthem state black cherry, plum, currant, and warm winter spice. Then on the palate, you get the earthy undertones, addition of more dark fruit like blackberry with olive, bay leaf, and espresso.
Okay.
Now, this is one that it says it's ready to drink now through 2036.
Wow.
I will say I'm very thankful. After even getting that first little sip, I've got 2 more bottles at home.
Okay. Well, I have to say, I definitely get the plum. I definitely can smell just a little bit of spice. It's a very subtle hint on the back
Yeah.
end to me.
I get the I couldn't wait. So I dove in and I get definitely get that espresso, the olive kind of I know I say it more than once, that cherry cola. Um
Yeah.
this is freaking delicious.
So one of the things that I think is interesting is I was kind of expecting a little heavier tannins in this, but I don't get much tannin at all.
I do.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so when I sip it, after I sip it, then I kind of rub my tongue to the top of the roof of my mouth, and that's how I can really.
Okay. Maybe I don't know what I'm doing. It's probably likely. It
Yeah.
does have a wonderful flavor. I'm trying to. On the back end, I get almost like a little bit of apple, just like a real subtle hint afterwards, like a sweet apple, not a. It has a smooth sweetness. It's very like I don't know, soft on the palate. It's not overwhelming. I don't know.
I really get that kind of like a black cherry. So that's what I think I'm getting. It's not so much like a cola, but like a black cherry.
Yeah, I can see like those really dark ones, not
Hmm.
the tart ones, but the very dark ones.
Yeah, black cherries do tend to be dark.
Yeah, but yeah, yeah. Sorry, I don't know what I'm talking about.
That's all right.
It's been a day.
Daniel pre-gamed prior.
I wish. Maybe that's the problem. I didn't. So no, this is nice. I could actually drink this really anytime.
Well,
I
you can't because you don't have a bottle.
that's fair. That's fair. But you owe me a bottle from when I brought the non-alcoholic wine and you drank one of mine.
No, I think you owe me another bottle for making me drink that non-alcoholic crap.
Yeah, that was a quite a disaster.
I'll
But,
get you a bottle of Vivante.
Okay, all right. So no, I like this. I find that this would be honestly, I could drink this if you cooled it like a little bit, just a touch, not like cold, but cooled it. I could even drink this in the summertime. There are some reds that I don't feel would go well in the summertime,
I don't care. I'll drink
but like
reds all the time.
but a nice summer evening sitting out with a breeze, this would be delightful.
I will drink this anytime. I will drink this at bedtime. I
So
will.
Brad, you said something that made me think that they don't that it has to be like 85, 86% of whatever is on the bottle.
Right.
Is that a law or is that like a regulation with the winemakers? Is it just an unwritten rule? Like
No, it's a rule. They
okay,
they have to follow. Um, I can't remember if it's the same in every country, but the over abiding rule is at least like 85%.
okay, hmm, interesting. So I guess if somebody says it's like a Cab Merlot blend, it's some combination that adds up to that percentage, or do you know?
Well, if they're saying it's a Cab Merlot blend, then it's going to be, um, predominantly Cabernet Merlot.
Yeah, I was just
There
wondering
might
if
be a.
like there are guidelines about
I don't know about that. I just know that if they're saying that it's a single
single.
varietal, it has to be at least 85%. But
Okay.
that's something to look into.
Do we have? I know like the DOCG when you go to like Italy,
Hmm.
that's their I forget what it means, but it they're very strict about where it's from. Like they're very specific. It like if it says this, it has to be from here. We don't have any rules. I mean, you say it's from Napa,
Well,
but it's not. We're not that strict,
well,
are we? I
kind
don't know.
kind of. I mean, um, there are certain areas like, you've got, Horse Heaven Hills over in Washington. You've got Napa Valley. So you're not going to say it's from Napa if it's not from Napa.
But if I'm like Napa adjacent,
Then
yeah,
that's a different area though.
okay,
But there's a lot of areas that are opening up that are in adjacent areas that are becoming their own
okay,
appellation.
I gotcha. Appellation, that's the word I was
Yeah.
looking for. Not Appalachian Mountains, Appellation with a Tion.
Yes.
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 Yes. So, all right. Well, I think we're on to something interesting, Brad. What has happened, or have you found that's interesting since last time we got together?
Oh goodness. Well, I mean, I guess in a few weeks I'll be seeing my family, which I mentioned last time, in Gainesville to celebrate my brother. And I just found out my cousin and his wife will be joining us. What else? What else is exciting? So I've I've got I bought a ticket, one ticket because I wasn't going to make you go and travel to see Fishbone, one of my favorite groups of all time. They were going to be performing. Uh, they're a headline. They really are a headliner, but there's the supporting act for Less Than Jake.
Oh wow,
That's going to
I
be.
haven't heard that name.
It's
in a
going to be
minute.
in Orlando, and I think that's in June. But I think in May, um, a group called XTC, that's EXTC, will be coming in May. So XTC features the original drummer from the group XTC. So
Oh,
it's basically a cover band,
okay.
but since XTC stopped touring in the early 90s, any fan of the original group is welcoming to anyone playing the music. And I actually saw them perform a few years ago when they went to Gainesville, and it was fantastic. So I need to see more live music.
Yeah. One thing I notice about this wine, back to the wine, is some wines after you have a sip, the taste of the grape goes away. But I actually like I'm sitting here and I actually feel like I ate a grape, like I just chewed one
That's
down, and
yeah,
it's lingering in a wonderfully pleasant way.
that's the body. That's typically, if and I explain it to people like this, kind of like the difference between skim milk versus whole milk. Skim milk, you drink it, taste is gone.
Yeah,
Whole milk, you're still tasting it,
yeah.
2 minutes later.
I'm almost getting like a peach flavor to it as well. Like I this is very nice. I enjoy this. This is a good call, Brad. Good choice.
I know.
Good selection.
Yeah, this is to quote Daniel, delightful.
Yes, delightful. All right, Mia, you're up. What interesting thing have you brought for us?
Um, well, before I came for spring break, I finalized setting up my university's book club. We have been reading a book called The Alchemist, not with a Y, by Michael Scott. It's an
From The
interesting.
Office.
No.
Okay.
That was my thought as well.
Okay.
I didn't want to embarrass
Okay.
you. So
We had Spun a Wheel. That was the book that got picked, but the club has been officially approved as a student organization on campus. And since I've been here for home for spring break, me and my dad here went to a Renaissance fair called the Bay Area Renaissance Fair.
the barf.
Yeah, the bar. Uh, it was a very interesting experience. Lots of people dressed up. The costumes ranged from people dressed up as fairies to pirates to warriors. There was an interesting experience with one of the people who dressed up. There was a character from one of my books who was there who dressed up as that character. It's Cassian, if you know, you know. And I went up to him. He has like bat wings. He's like has the red
The guy was
stones
really decked out.
with like weapons of all sorts. And I asked if I could get a picture with him. And after I got the picture, it is apparently something to do trinket trading, where you trade little, like, whether that be little mushrooms, glass mushrooms, or little artwork. So I traded him a little book made out of cardboard that his character is from, and he offered me a knife. He insisted I take the little, like, knife.
Yeah, he said I don't really have anything, but I've got this knife. Please take it.
It was I think it's called a dirk,
Yeah, it was like a
which
little
is like a
throwing
throwing
knife.
knife. Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's
So
probably about 4 inches long, 5 inches long. It was.
yeah. And I'm glad you clarified that it was glass mushrooms
well,
as opposed to other kinds of mushrooms that might be traded.
Yeah.
it was more plastic, but
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. Well,
So my something interesting is not that interesting, I guess. Mia really took the cake on that one. And Brad, this is not even close to yours, but every time I go to Birmingham, a very good friend of mine plays in a pool league, and I come and linger on Wednesdays when he does it, and shoot pool afterward, and just always have a great time. And he's always said, like, find a league, just go and play. Meet people, get to know them, and enjoy it. And so I finally broke down and did it. And I, in a couple of weeks, will be beginning to actually play league play. I've been going with them and practicing and learning. But it's a really welcoming group in the area, and I'm really excited about it. I've been playing 9 ball, so
I'm really bad at pool.
I am too. I am too. But the nice thing is like this league, the way it works is you get a handicap. So like if you're not good and you're playing somebody really good, what you have to reach to win versus what they have to reach to win are two very different things. So.
I could get like one ball in, and then I would win. That's how bad I am.
I have to, when I play with my friends or anything, I have to literally, sometimes I'll have to like lay onto the table because I'm so short that I cannot hit the ball.
Yeah. Well, cool.
So,
All right. Well, anything else we want to talk about that was interesting, or is that it?
Oh, Cooper's Hawk now has carrot cake
Yes.
for the next 2 months.
Although
So
they
that's
don't have the fancy arancini that they've had, Cooper's Hawk, if you're listening, bring it back. Um, Also, I do want to say, while we're on the topic of Cooper's Hawk, they have a Washington Red that is their wine of the month this month. That
Yeah.
is delightful, and I highly recommend it if you've got a Cooper's Hawk near
It's
you.
really
And
good.
like reds, swing through. So, our topic from last week was social media. Where did it come from? Where is it going? And what is it doing to us? I chose this topic because I have very strong opinions on it. And because of that, I'm actually going to let Brad lead the charge into this topic this week because I don't want to just launch
Yeah.
into my opinions.
So I mean, it's interesting. I did a little bit of reading up on it. And social media kind of really started more so in like the 60s, 70s to a limited extent. I don't want to necessarily go full force into that, but I will start with my own personal experience because I remember going to my friend Peter Bogrationov's house, and this is probably in the early 80s, and his father worked for the airlines, and so he had the latest modem terminals, whatnot. I mean, I remember, wow, he got a 9600 baud modem, and that was really cool and so fast. uh, but I remember getting on the bulletin boards, and it was a great way to be able to get in touch with people that were from all over the world. And then, of course, that one branched out. I remember later on going to my friend Marlon Hirsch's house, and I think he had an Apple computer, and we would get on AOL and get on AOL chat rooms.
You've got mail.
You've got mail.
Yeah.
Do you have mail?
Probably. It's
Okay.
it's in the box.
Okay. So, getting in those chat rooms, and then it just really branched out from there. I remember, um, at University of Florida being able to access different um, chats. It was like IRC, I think it was called.
Yeah, IRC was
Yeah.
the cool one because while AOL was very like transactional, it was like I send you something, you send me something, and like it was once you sent it, it was there. You used to get the ASL, age, sex, location.
Mm-hmm.
That was a big thing because like it was the first time we ever got to speak on a regular basis to people that weren't in our area.
Yeah.
It was a big deal. But IRC was cool because you could actually see as they were typing, it would fill in. and then if they backspace through, you could see it. So it had a little more flexibility there.
Yeah.
So
But I like what it was meant to be, not necessarily what it's become, because it was a way for people who might not have had the social skills to be able to approach others, that would be able to go ahead and introduce themselves, or introduce the part of themselves that they'd like to other people. Unfortunately, sometimes you end up getting those, people catfishing others, which people think that that's been something more recent, but no, it's been going on since MySpace, since the AOL chat rooms,
yeah.
um, all of that.
I remember. So I love that you brought up the BBSs because I remember as a kid, my uncle was very into computers, and we'd dial into the BBS and we'd chat and we'd do these things. And then there was a game. This is like the early online gaming, Legend of the Red Dragon. It's
Hmm.
all completely text based. It asks you questions. You respond to it. Super fun game. If you actually, I think you can play it online still. There's a website you can go to and play it.
Really?
Yeah. So that was to me, that I agree. That was the first what I think of as social media. Um, I know that there were other things that sort of emulated some of the features, but those were my first experiences. But I remember, like you, I think the first time I really got into what I think of as social media was a blogging platform called Zanga, Xanga. And Zanga was geared towards true blogging, but it had comments. And so you developed this sense of community and you had friends and things like that. You had followers and you would have these really robust discussions. But you still had all the negative things that you have now. Is like you had trolls. I had somebody that came in and said, when they didn't like how popular my blog was, and they said, "Oh, well, Daniel had posted something that was really racist, and now he's deleted it." And people started attacking me, and it was really weird to have all these strangers attacking me.
Hmm.
And this was like 2006, 2007. This was, it was really just a strange experience because it was unknown at that time. You didn't know that that was likely to happen.
Right.
But yeah, I think it's definitely changed from connecting people to, I don't know what. How would you describe modern social media?
A shit show.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, what it's become now is a way to espouse your own agenda without any facts, rhyme, or reason. I mean, and it's I mean, I even recently, someone that I'm friends with posts something, and then they lean one way, and I we're not getting political. We're not getting political, but they lean one way, I lean another, and you have other people agreeing, going, "This is the way it's supposed to be," and if you agree with this other position, then you're the problem. I'm like, this is, I mean, just because you believe a certain way doesn't mean that's the right way. It might be the right way for you, but people, this is now a way to attack other people. It's it's a way for people to gain power. It's
So I
Yeah.
actually I kind of agree with you. I actually, the first thing when I asked myself like what defines social media today, the first thing I said was marketing.
Oh yeah.
It's almost
Yeah.
completely about marketing, whether you are an individual or a corporation or a politician. It's about collecting data and whether it's informal, just saying something and seeing how people react, or actual like automated data collection for marketing purposes. You direct market to people. You try to get attention from people. You try to get them to like your stuff, or or share your stuff, or sometimes you want them to dislike your stuff. And I think that even the people who are just casual users have a tendency to become almost like campaign directors. Like I've known people who they would post shit for attention, and I'm guilty of this too in the past, to just post something just to poke the bear and see who starts screaming.
Yeah.
I
Um, Go
I
ahead.
interact with social media a little differently. I growing up, I had a different experience because I was not there when AOL and other forms of social media were first starting. I grew up more with Instagram and Facebook, and it I see where you're coming from, where it can be for it depends on like why people post. They post for likes, attention, and sometimes they lack backing to what they're posting. But I still see the good parts of it, where it brings communities together and people together despite distances. It's I've used it to connect with some of my friends through social media, to just talk with friends. Some people utilize social media to message rather than texting. For example, a big one that I actually had to be taught how to use because I didn't previously use it was Snapchat. That's become very big. People will send messages to their friends. Um,
I had to get rid of Snapchat.
Is that
Uh,
the one where it like deletes after so many
Yes.
seconds?
yeah, but I had to get rid of it because I kept getting these messages from bots, and I'm like, I could not figure out how to stop it. And I'm like, I've not really used. I used to use it to keep in communication mainly with people that I worked with when I did jewelry. But I'm like, this is just not good.
Yeah.
I mostly got it to join a study group because that was the only way they were wanting to communicate. And I still don't know everything about Snapchat. I know more about Instagram and TikTok because that is what I mostly use. Um, with Instagram, it's mostly pictures and then a comment. So mostly you get people just posting like, "Here's an update on my life," or a call to action. There's a lot of advocacy and saying call to action or this is happening, especially when it comes to news headlines. That's something I noticed, that there'll be a headline, and that's how misinformation can be spread because they'll just post a headline without any information and context. So I always have to make sure when I'm getting information from these sources, I go behind and look up what I'm looking at.
And that's
So
part of the problem though, because especially like on Facebook, a friend, another friend recently posted uh, something that politicians did, and then said, "Wow, if this is true, then it's screwed up." I'm like, and I'm thinking to myself, well, why don't you take a second and actually look to see if it's true before you post it?
I think of that like the newspapers that used to post, and honestly they still do. They'll do it on websites.
National Enquirer.
They'll say the headline will be like, did Donald Trump rape a monkey this weekend? And they get away with it because it's a question.
Right.
So you're not slandering someone, or you're not libeling someone if you ask it in the form of a question, which is kind of a shady thing to do. But I agree that like it's a big risk because it's so easy. People only read the headlines. And what I've noticed is, we tend to we want to trust our friends. And the problem with social media is we're making friends. They're called friends on all these platforms. And I'll meet somebody at a restaurant and add them to my friends list. And so now they're my friend, and I want to trust my friend, but I have no reason to trust this person. But because they're my friend, should I trust them? So when they post something that sounds convincing, I'm more inclined to believe them if I'm not conditioned to question things. And I think that's the big risk, is like we have all these things that everybody just believes what they're told, but you also have, like you said, bots.
Oh yeah.
You have people who are being paid without saying who's paying them or that they're being paid to say, you know, either false information about another competitor or positive information about
Right.
something.
So, one of the podcasts that I listen to frequently, the Jordan Harbinger Show, he's said before, because he's traveled quite a bit, and he's stated that he knows that there are influencers who have been paid to record to say positive things about China. He knows this because he's been approached about it as well.
Yeah. If you get a followings, people want to use that. They want to use that to their advantage. And
That's why no one's approached us yet about that, because we don't have as much of a following. Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe and share.
so,
There's
go ahead.
sorry.
No, go for it.
There's also lots of scams that can pop up. I've been scammed before on Instagram. Someone had asked me, like, I need help. It was someone I knew, and I knew them. I knew them mostly on social media, but I trusted this person, but I did not realize it was a bot, and that led me to get hacked. Another example is a social media platform that a lot of colleges and universities use is one called GroupMe. It
Yeah.
where clubs and will have group chats for their clubs or
So that's really all
classes.
chat, though, isn't it?
Yes, but bots will come into these chats, especially the public ones, for whether that be classes or clubs, and they will say, "You want free concert tickets?" or "I'm selling my Mac,"
Hmm.
and they will blow up the chat, try to get interactions with people and get people to take the bait.
Well, I actually think one of the things that I find concerning is that it's become. I mean, and we have laws that people are trying to pass to ban certain things now, whether they're being genuine when they say their reasonings, like espionage, surveillance, all these things, they're out there. And honestly, I don't disagree that if you want to figure out someone's password or get information about where they're going and what they're doing, look at their social media. If it's open, you can find out a lot of information about a person.
Well, yeah, and it's those quizzes that people have you do. Hey, what was the name of your first dog? What's your favorite color? Things like that. Because people have a predisposition to make those things into their passwords.
Yeah.
It's why I don't love anyone or anything. That's why it's so difficult to figure out my password.
You are an angry, angry little man.
You love wine, though.
Damn it! That's my password, angry little man.
So I guess one of the things we've kind of been down on social media, but I do think there are some positives. Like, what do you, Mia? What do you think? What do you find to be helpful or useful about social media?
The spread of information in a positive manner. We've talked about the negatives and the cons of the spread of information, but there can also be a positive side to that, where the use of just headlines has been useful when finding things to do on campus. Specifically, there'll be a picture or a headline of "Come to this place, the student center. There's going to be muffins or candy or whatever is happening at the student
Okay.
center," or and you'll hear about it, and that will bring more people to those events.
So I actually had that on my list as well. That it's become the default for planning things. I have a friend who
Yes.
refuses to get on social media, and she actually says it hurts her and her child in her mind because all the moms groups, all the school groups are all on Facebook or whatever platform they're on, and she, by choice of not being on them, is excluded. And
Yep.
I think that's
Well, because there's so many freaking weirdos. Next door. That's one
oh
that
gosh,
I got rid of next door
yeah,
long ago because, and I remember someone had posted, just because you don't have to be friends with these people to see their post, because they'll post in the area, but she was yelling about finding seeing these kids drinking this alcoholic beverage, and that the parents need to watch these kids, and she was going off. Okay, this alcoholic beverage was, I think it's called Death Water.
Oh,
oh
Um,
yeah, liquid death,
Liquid death, liquid death,
yeah,
liquid death. It's water.
yeah.
It's
Yes.
water.
it
Yeah.
is water.
No, I think that one of the things, and this is sort of getting into what is it doing to us. I think that because we now have this platform where we can say whatever we want, we can share our creations, our thoughts, our opinions, our ideas anytime we want, and we have an potentially international audience. We feel like everything that goes through our mind or that we think or say or write is worthwhile. And then because you've got all your friends, there's always some idiot that's going to agree with you. I could say that water tastes like urine.
I agree with you.
Yeah. And but you're not going to latch on to the guy that says you're an idiot. You're going to latch on to the guy that agrees with you. And so we start to believe our own bullshit, I guess is the best way to say it. So like we'll next door, instead of just going, hey, there were kids, they might be drinking, I don't know, that look like the cans that an alcoholic beverage would come in. Might want to check it out. We jump to this conclusion because of our notions of what's right and wrong or what we know and what we think and whatever. And we start to just attack all the time. And I think that's one of the big negatives of social media.
Also, what is the benefit of posting? We've talked a little bit about it on what, like, why people post to get the likes, to get sympathy. I have to be conscious when I post. I mostly use Instagram and Facebook, and I have to be conscious, like, am I just posting this just to get attention or likes? I have to make sure that I'm not falling into that trap of just trying to post for attention. Or even when I comment on things, I'm like, is this worthwhile to say?
Yeah.
Is there a
Oh,
point to what I'm
I'm
saying?
100% posting it to get attention. I'm never posting it to get sympathy. Although, it's like, and I understand people do. We had a former mutual friend who used to post all the time talking about how his life is horrible, da 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 da. And, and I understand some people need to vent that way, but I felt then, and I still feel now, that if you really want help, you need to go seek help. Don't make social media your one outlet to make you feel better. If you are truly feeling that bad about life.
So I actually put as a pro for social media that it makes it a lot easier than ever, really, to stay in touch with other people. So one of the things I miss out on is I don't completely because I have people who tell me about things that Mia posts, for instance, or my mom or my dad or my sister. I don't see those things. So I have to make it a point to call whoever I want to talk to and talk to them. And I'm not always the best at that. So it does make it easier for us to passively collect information and feel like we're engaged. But in my cons, I actually ask the question, are we actually staying in touch? Because I feel like social media, I see all these pictures of my niece and nephew. I see these things that my mom and dad are doing and posting about. And so I feel like I've had a conversation with them. But at the end of the day, I still feel lonely because I didn't talk to anybody. I just stared at a screen and passively got information, and they still feel lonely because nobody called them, nobody talked to them, and I feel like we're getting the illusion of connectedness
Well,
without
that's
true
well, that's kind
connectedness.
of like, not to go off on a tangent, but celebrities, how they end up getting stalkers because the stalkers feel as if they know
Yeah,
them intimately, and next thing they're tied to a bed and their ankles got broken in.
Brad, are you planning something?
You've
What are you doing over
you've
there?
never seen Misery?
No,
With Kathy Bates?
no, I have not.
Stephen King book.
Okay, I'll have to check it
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
So I guess one of the things you pointed out, Mia, is you have to think about your motives when you're posting. Um, and I guess you don't have to. You can do whatever you want. But I think it's valuable to think about our motives for doom scrolling. Why am I sitting here scrolling through Facebook at Disney World?
Yeah.
Or why am I at the beach this beautiful spring day and I'm seeing what's going on X or Twitter or whatever it's called today. You know, like what are we doing? And you know, you also have to ask yourself with your friends, like, are these actually people I want in my life? Like, what is this person? I used to make it a habit to go through every so often and just say, like, what does this person add to my life? Like, are they actually giving me anything useful? Like, do I find them engaging, interesting, or is it just somebody I met in a bar that that I had a beer with and don't really care to be around?
Well, so I remember I was at Tilted Kilt many years ago in Jacksonville, and I was hanging with a buddy, and we met
Like
someone,
buddy or a buddy?
a buddy,
Okay.
uh, and we met someone, Sarah, and her boyfriend, and I've kept in touch social media with Sarah ever since. So I've got to see, her and her now husband get married, have kids, and the kids are freaking hilarious.
Yeah.
I mean, hilarious. So it's kind of cool to see that happen. And it's not one of those things where, I just look and click like. Once in a while, I'll have a little bit of interaction because that is important to do. To, not just be the stalker, just looking and not making comments, but to your point, interact with people.
Yeah, I mean, I actually have mixed feelings about the like, dislike, and all the all the emojis you can apply to things. Um,
I should think they should have a "What the fuck is wrong with you" one.
yeah, I mean, it can kind of go too far, and but I do think there's some value to at least some interaction. But again, it goes back to a like can mean a lot of things. Why did you like that? Did you like the
Actually like
message?
it.
Did you like that I posted it? What did you like about it? Or did you just actually accidentally click like when you meant to click dislike or whatever?
I am guilty of that. I have a bad habit sometimes of doom scrolling, as you called it. And I'll be scrolling, and then I'll just like something, and be like, and I have to take a minute and be like, why did I like that? And I realized it was an advertisement or something.
it was a Nazi salute.
No, 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 no,
No, no, no. He was just saying this is from his heart.
Right.
But I watched a documentary a while ago called The Social Dilemma. I don't know if it's still on Netflix, but it made a good point about the algorithm. Sorry, the algorithm is designed to draw people in and to make people want to continue scrolling. That few second video of them talking to you about something compared to you reading a whole Facebook post is the way that they're drawing people in to continue this doom scrolling. And you mentioned those emojis with the likes and things. I learned that that's a newer thing. When Facebook was first starting, it's been a while since I watched this documentary, but if I remember correctly, it didn't used to be all these emojis. It used to be a like or you didn't like it. Now they have all these emojis where you can heart it. It could be I care or laughing emoji or
Mhm.
whatever else there
It
is.
was called Social Dilemma.
The Social Dilemma.
Okay.
It should still be on Netflix. If not, they do have a website,
Okay.
I believe. So
So yeah, I actually touching on something you talked about with the algorithms is, I one of my pros is we can be exposed to ideas and things that we never would have been exposed to. So this goes back to AOL. If I am talking to someone from India and I've at that time had very little knowledge of what India meant, when I heard it, um, I could be exposed to their ideas, their religion, their culture, their food, everything, and I wasn't able to do that. But now I actually, while I do think it's a potential pro, I actually wonder with the algorithms combined with our own tendency to um, naturally just want to be with people that are part of our tribe, I guess.
mhm.
And I don't say that in a negative way. I just mean like just people that are like us. I think it's a natural tendency because it's comfortable. Like, are we actually getting exposed to new ideas anymore, or is it just some algorithm that says, "Hey, tell them about this so they'll buy the Indian frozen meal for lunch?
So, to a certain extent, no. Um, there are people that I think are willing to be open-minded. Um, Not to go back on this, but I was listening to a the another episode of the Jordan Harbinger show very recently, and it was, I want to say it was within the last few days, where it talked about people have a tendency to empathize with those that are more like them.
Hmm.
So there was a test. So this was, I think this was this particular episode. It was episode 1123 with David Eagleman, your prehistoric brain on modern problems, and it talked about empathy. So there was a test where they would have people with imposed with certain, like, so you had a bunch of people in a room, and you had people that were supposedly pricked,
Okay.
and so you were hooked up to see how your brain responded. The people weren't actually pricked
Yeah.
because it was retractable, uh, but the people that were more like you empathized more with,
Mhm.
versus the people who were not like you.
So what's interesting about that is, and this is, I guess, getting a little off of social media, although it was organized by social media. For a while there, I was on our neighborhood Facebook group, and so you get all kinds on a neighborhood. It's kind of like next door. You get what you get. But what I would find is there were people that I was friends with because I met them once, um, and their day-to-day posts made it very clear that unless you worked 80 hours a week and didn't ever ask anyone for anything and didn't ever get anything from anyone, um, you were worthless and they would never consider helping you, whether it was directly or through taxes. But when someone would die or get sick or whatever it was, and someone posted, hey, this happened to so and so in our neighborhood, they were the first on board to say, hey, let's buy this guy a gift card so he can get DoorDash all week instead of having to cook, or whatever it was. And I feel like it's that tribalism that social media tends to push people, whether it's willingly or unwillingly, towards sort of a tribalism of, like, these people are like me. I'm going to join the groups that I'm interested in. They're my tribe, or they're my neighbors, or but they're my tribe. So I agree with that completely. That,
Yeah.
like, that's not a surprising result of that study.
Yeah.
So,
So when it comes down to it, is social media good or bad?
Mia, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this.
It depends on how it's used. I think using it for the betterment of society and to stay connected with people is the way I hope it's going and will continue to go. But there are some, I think it's 50-50. It has its pros, but also has its cons.
But
It
do you think that we're using it toward the betterment of society, or do you think it's steering towards a more destructive force? Don't go 50-50. You got to take a side. Pick a side.
I think I believe it's for the better. The world is becoming more digital, and this is how the information is going to continue to spread. We just have to adapt, and as as sometimes you say, you got to pick through the bullshit and figure out what's true and what's not.
I actually am going to disagree with you. I think that it's really leading us down a really negative path. I think that we are distancing ourselves in terms of interpersonal communications. I heard this through a person, I've not validated it, I've not confirmed it, but it wasn't surprising. Said that, like, only like 20 to 30% of young people have ever actually asked someone on a date face to face. And when I was young, that's how you had to do it. You had to ask face to face. And I feel like we are separating ourselves from human interactions. And it shows when you have these people who will say something on social media that would get you punched in the face regardless of consequences in person. But they'll say it proudly
Hmm.
on social media. And they're very different people in person. And I think that between that and our willingness to accept misinformation, and in the defense of those that accept it, I think that the campaigns that are being driven through social media are extreme and well designed. And I mean, I think you've got psychologists and psychiatrists who are really steering this stuff. But I think it's a massively destructive force. I have a Blue Sky account. I use it for catharsis only, maybe once a month, twice a month. But that's about it. And I go through every time. Should I just delete this? So, Brad.
I tend to agree with Daniel. Um, it's very destructive, very divisive. I I seem to. I mean, I'm still on it because it's a great way to keep in touch with people. But I find myself hiding people more because of how angry they can get or how closed-minded they can be. I tend to. I'm tending to use Threads a bit more now.
I don't know what Threads is.
Threads is basically um, another version of Twitter, but by Facebook.
Oh, okay. Is it like when you say Threads, is it targeted like discussion groups almost? Or is it
Kind
Kind of.
kind of.
It's kind of like Reddit used to be. If that kind of where I've seen it through Instagram. It keeps on trying to take me there whenever I see
Yeah,
something interesting.
it's more like Twitter.
to me?
Twitter.
So Brad did tell me I should sign up for some social media accounts, and I chose not to do that. So I'm in the blind here.
It's not the first time I've told you to do something.
You've told
that
me
you
a great
haven't
many
do.
things, and I
Yeah.
tend to not listen.
Yeah.
I guess I just use social media in a different way, and I try to block out the negative. Where I just I just try not to engage in the negative sides of social media for my own sanity.
So I'm very curious, and I'm gonna start with an example because I think it's a great horror story of what social media could become. Um, there's a show called Black Mirror. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but it's kind of episodic. It has very like they're not connected other than the theme of like
It's basically like Twilight Zone or Outer Limits.
yeah. But there's an episode called Nosedive, and it's basically a world where your rating on social media matters. So if you get a lot of likes, you are successful. You have a good job and things like that. But if you get too many dislikes, you can lose your job. You can lose your life. You can lose your house. All these things. And the nosedive is someone just has a bad day, and it sends them onto this nosedive of the social experience. Now, I don't think that's where we're really headed, but I'm going to ask the question: 10 years from now, what what does social media look like, and what do the average human being's interactions with it look like?
I think it's probably going to be closer to that. I mean, we're already down that path with TikTok, which, um, for those who don't know, TikTok used to be an app called Musically.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember that.
So but I don't. So someone that I went to high school with, oh my God, my brain's not working. Sharon and Jose, their daughter is baby Ariel.
I don't know what that
I
means.
don't
Which,
know what that means either.
okay, she's super big. But she was one of the first stars on Musically
Oh
and then
wow.
TikTok.
Oh.
And now she acts. But where the hell was I going with this? Oh yeah. So I mean, you've got people now that they're building their whole careers simply based on their likes. Now some of them are great. There's one called on YouTube and TikTok that I follow called Casual Geographic,
Okay.
where this guy, he talks about different facts about different animals, and it's fantastic. There's another one called We Rate Dogs,
Okay.
and he starts every episode with, "The dogs were good this week. Here are my top five." and he shows little videos and of these different dogs, and it's fantastic and it's fun.
Nice.
But then you're dealing with the other people who are extremely divisive and just ugly people.
Do you think we'll kind of stagnate where we are in terms of like it'll just be the shit show that it is?
I think it's definitely going to be the shit show for quite a while.
I think it's also going to lean less away. It's going to lean away from the long posts, kind of like the way Facebook is set up. I think it's going to become more headlines and videos that are shorter in consumption time to get people's attention for shorter attention spans. That's something I noticed with TikTok, where when I was younger, I would just watch YouTube videos. It was great. But as I got into TikTok, I realized I was losing my attention span for videos. That was why I eventually, when it was going to be banned, I was like, you know what? I'm going to delete this. And when it came back up the next day, I just left it deleted because I felt, while it had its positives of, I really like um, books, and so I'll find like the book community on there. You can, if you have a question, you can just search it up, and you're likely to find a video on that topic like you would with YouTube that's shorter than a YouTube video, but it was leading me to have a shorter attention span. I think that's where it's going, more headlines rather than actual thoughtful discussion and shorter consumption videos.
I think you just created a parody song.
Yeah.
That's that's me on the Facebook.
The book face.
That's me on the Instagram losing my attention.
Wow, Brad. Those voice lessons are working great.
Thank you.
So I've been kind of in a very negative place for a while in terms of my outlook for the future, and it shows, and I've been struggling with it and trying to work on it. But I think my biggest fear, I think it will stay largely as it is. I think the people who control things and realize how powerful it is will continue to prey upon the ignorant and the stupid, um, and abuse it and take advantage of people. I do think you'll have people who are conscientious and try to use it for good. But what I fear is that our society will continue to force people into it, where if you're not on it, you'll be unable to do a lot of things. Your cost of living will go up. There will be challenges put in place to just access things that require social media, and I feel like that's my biggest fear for the future of it. So, any final thoughts that we want to share on this topic, or do we want to
No,
keep talking?
I think we pretty much covered it.
So I just want to say, Mia, you touched on this. Think about what you're doing. Think about why you're doing it. Think about why you're posting. Think about why you're liking and sharing. Brad, you even said, if you don't know something to be true,
Yeah.
don't just share it. Don't start some shit.
Yeah.
Don't start no shit. There won't be no shit.
Your digital footprint follows you wherever you go. People can scroll back and see what you posted. So I think that's why it's important to be careful of what you post.
Yeah, even if you think you've deleted it, there's still a copy somewhere.
Yeah.
Someone still saw it.
Like I said, just be responsible. Think about what you're doing, and think about how it's affecting you and the people you interact with. And I think maybe there's some hope for social media. So, all right. Well, Brad, I think it's the drum roll time. What's the next week's topic?
Yeah, I fully meant to talk to you about this prior, just to kind of get an idea, because I had several different ideas that were running through my head, and then I think I finally came to a decision during the podcast, um, just because I hadn't, gotten an idea. Anyways, I think what we'll do, talk about, just to bring it to a lighter note, once again, because that's what I'm good at. Let's have a discussion about some music groups that changed their lead singers.
Hmm.
And did the group improve? Did it stay along the same tangent? Did it take a nosedive?
This one's going to require some research on my part.
Yes,
I'm
it
not
will.
good at this.
Yes, it will.
So, all right. I'm down with that. I'm going to have to listen to some music and
Yeah.
pop some tunes on my...
Anytime you get to listen to some music, it's a good day.
Yeah, absolutely. Good. All right.
Maybe you'll go on social media and listen to it that way.
Yeah, probably not.
Okay.
Probably not. But maybe. Maybe I'll listen to Mia. What was the band you went to see?
We went to go see this band called Good Kid.
Good Kid. Good Kid.
I'd be more inclined to listen to Bad Kid.
Well, the concert name was Good Kid Chaos, so
What?
there was some chaos.
Okay. Was there slam dancing?
No, but there was a wheel where someone would dress up as there was options. They would play their song faster. There was a go home. So if they hit that, we were going
terrifying.
home. Dressing up as some anime character.
So someone
Yeah.
got stuck on the wheel?
No,
Or-
no. They brought up some kids
I was
from the
expecting her
audience.
to talk about her throwing
Right,
knives.
okay.
You know.
They had someone spin the wheel, and it ended up landing on dressing like the anime character. So one of the people from the band went and dressed up as this anime character called Miku,
Okay.
and they continued the concert from there.
Well, rock and roll.
Oh, so if they landed on Go Home, then the
Then we
band
would've
would
gone
just
home. Yeah.
band would just stop?
In theory, yes.
Okay.
Wow.
There was
All right.
also a gumball machine, so there was some chaos.
Okay. All right.
All right. Well, any final thoughts related to the topic? Anything? Anybody want to share some thoughts?
Let's move past that.
All right.
We gave our final thoughts on
Thank
that.
you for inviting me to this episode and letting me put my input in.
Well, maybe you'll get to do it again someday. All right. Well, thank you for joining us again. You know, we had fun. I think it was good
Yes,
discussion.
very much so.
I think it was a good one.
Yeah.
Please check us out on Apple and Spotify podcasts at Wine, Whiskey, and Words. Spotify, we have video, and Apple is just the audio.
Yeah, YouTube and Spotify, we have the video. Apple is just the audio. Please make sure that you like them. Please make sure that you subscribe. Subscribing is very important. And share.
Yeah, give us some comments, give us some feedback, and honestly, if you want to give us some feedback for the next episode, Brad generally, we didn't do it this time, but we've been trying to include your feedback and what you said on social media, oddly enough.
And I will say, in regards to this particular wine, really, this is more your steak wine.
Oh
This
yeah,
is more,
absolutely.
even like I'm thinking, although it's been a long time since I had meat, but like a brisket.
Yeah.
A brisket would go very well.
Yeah, this is definitely
this.
your bold red meat wine.
Yeah, definitely.
So, absolutely. Well, by the way, if you want to email us, make sure you email winewhiskeyandword@gmail.com. Somebody had taken the other one, so we're stuck with what we got. And we hope you enjoyed this episode and look forward to sharing the next one with you.
Sounds good.
All right. Cheers.
Cheers.